Hello, we are back for another lower league lingo. Welcome to All For Women's Football. We're going all for WNL, and it'll be right after the other side of this. Hello, good evening, welcome. It's wonderful to have the pleasure of your company, whether you be live, whether you be watching this back on, I don't know, a tea break maybe, or whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you just sat in front of EastEnders. It's not as exciting as it used to be. Who knows? But either way, welcome. Lovely to have you here. As you can see, we've got the motley crew back together again, and we are ready to look through tiers 3 and 4. We had a little bit of a discussion about this last week when we were talking about the potential changes that were going to happen at tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 and tier 6. If you haven't seen that yet, go back, have a little look, or refresh your memories as to what's going on and where we stand. But for now, let's just say hello to everyone. John, it was your birthday, I believe, last week when we were having our conversation. How was that? Did you enjoy your curry and how are you?
The curry was fantastic, thank you. Yeah, but I'm going to open up a question right here, right now. I was still celebrating my birthday yesterday, and I went to a place called Malvern. Yes, Gareth, my birthdays last all week, and especially considering I was on holiday last week and I'm on holiday from work this week. My birthday is going all the way through to mid-February, absolutely. But I went to a place called Malvern, which is M5 Junction 7, and I started thinking to myself, is that Midlands or is it South? So it's just below Worcester. Worcester is classed as Midlands in regards to the Football League. But surely, Barry, that's closer to you in the south than it is to me in the Midlands. Or is it not? I don't know.
I can confirm, as a card carrying southerner, anything north of Watford Gap is not south. So it's as simple as that. If we've got to Watford Gap, that's it. That's as far as we're concerned.
We need to know where the borderline is. We need to know.
Well, there we go.
I don't even know what to say.
No, Gaz has lost it. But you're a closet southerner, as we well know.
No, I'm from the east, not the south.
That's the south. Where,
Norwich is further north. Norwich is further north.
You're south. You're more south than you are mid.
Further north than Birmingham. It's the east.
I'm not having it. That's still the south of the country. If you didn't have an east and a west, you'd be south, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but we do have east and west.
Anything below Birmingham, it's south.
Great. Well, Norwich is further north than Birmingham, so it's not south.
All right, great. Brilliant. So Gaz is a midfielder. See, I'm trying to get it back to the football. Trying my best. But there we are. So good. Well, I'm glad you're both all right. Anyway, we've had a good geographical discussion to kick us off with, but that's not what we're here for. So good to see you. Are you well though, Gareth? You lovely little Midlander, you.
I'm fabulous. Thank you very much.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. So don't forget, we are here to cover both tiers, but also, as I say, we look at the North, Midlands and South, even though the East exists apparently. So we're just going to do it that way, and it is what it is. But we have got lots to look at, so let's take a little butchers at this as we bring up the first league table of the day. This is, of course, the Northern Premier. I stay out of this. This is the bit where John and Gareth will take the reins for any conversations they might have on the Northern Premier. But lots of big results during the week. I'm going to let these two talk, see what it is they come up with, and whatever they don't mention, I will probably sweep up at the end. But not a lot happening there in terms of changes in the division, Gareth, but certainly still a lot to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really starting to take shape. I think we've mentioned before, haven't we? There's kind of 3 tiers to this league. You've got that title battle, which is really starting to hot up. Burnley, if they win that game in hand on Forest, they're only a point behind. If they win both of those games in hands, they go ahead of Wolves. So that top 3 is really kind of open, and I think it would take a brave soul to to take a punt on either of those teams. Obviously, Forest have got the advantage of having not lost yet, and the better goal difference. So potentially the odds might be in their favour without wanting to be all Hunger Games on it. That relegation scrap, there are some teams that are pulling themselves away. You suspect that's now going to be two of those bottom three teams. You'd imagine Halifax and either Calcer or Stourbridge for the drop. It would look to me, Hull having those 4 wins on the board, the significantly better goal difference, the Stourbridge will need to double their win tally for the season to even be level on points, and in doing so would need a 14 goal swing. So 2 7-0 wins means that they're sort of there on par with Hull. So I think Hull are probably safe, but you never know. A couple of freak weekends or shocking weekends, everything could change there. And then that middle of the table is still looking interesting. It's rugby started the season so promisingly, they've fallen away. Stoke are performing well. You're looking at teams with only 2 or 3 defeats. Feds have lost 4 times. It's not many over the course of the season, but I think those top 3 are just so strong. And we were touching last week on whether or not we're going to see more teams going up from this division. No plans to initially, but there's obviously quality at the top, which is really interesting. And like I say, the league's really starting to take shape, and I don't think it's easy to call either at the top or the bottom. I don't know what John thinks.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying regarding both the top and the bottom. I think the table kind of speaks for itself, and the upcoming games do as well. We've said all the way through this series that regarding the bottom, it's about who can win the games around you. But what Hull did this week is pull off a win against a team that wasn't around them, a mid-table team in West Bromwich Albion. So I think that's one of the few times that I'll say that the Norths actually got one over on the Midlands there, because Hull winning 2-0 against Albion, Hull away from home as well, was an absolutely fantastic result for Hull. So yeah, I agree. They've definitely consolidated their position, and they won't say that it's over just yet, because they'll probably want that one more victory to kind of consolidate it and confirm it. But yeah, great result for Hull against Albion. But what I would do is just shout out a few other scores. I mean, Forest only winning 2-0 against Halifax. That's a massive credit to Halifax. An outsider looking in, just looking at the table there, you'd have expected Forest to have won a lot more than that. However, Halifax have been bringing in a few players quietly over the Christmas and recently as well. So, Halifax are getting stronger throughout the season. They had quite a poor start, but they have been building on that. And Stourbridge only losing 2-0 to Liverpool Feds. They've been on a bit of a losing streak going into Christmas, and obviously coming out of Christmas now, making that journey up to Liverpool, only losing 2-0. So I think results-wise, no major shocks apart from Hull and Albion, but only losing 2-0, some of these is quite impressive, yeah.
Fair points from Ollie there. I did want to ask you both as well, because there's obviously some big games coming up, so I will go into those in just a moment. But obviously, the results for those who may have been interested in them, obviously Derby lost 4-0 to Burnley. There's some big goals in there, but Laura Elford there with her 11th of the season. Got Halifax 0, Forest 2, as you mentioned, with Charlie Wellens scoring there. That was her 18th of the season. She's her club's top scorer. More goals from her. Liverpool Feds 2, Stour 0. Not looking great for Stour, as we've mentioned before. Rugby 1, Wolves 1. Beth Merrick getting the equaliser, but again, Angelina Nixon scoring her 14th of the season. Lots there. Calcer 0, Stoke 4, which is quite big there. Millie Raven in again, 19th of the season. Again, the club top scorer. And West Brom 0, Hull 2. But big games to look forward to. Certainly within the league, Nottingham Forest will have the opportunity to try and pull away a little bit from the teams below as they take on Liverpool Feds. and Calcer have got quite a big game there. I think West Bromwich Albion, which again could be really big down the bottom. But two big FA Cup matches coming up: Wolves against Man United and Rugby against Liverpool. So if I just ask you both just to have a little look at that one as well, and let us know what you're thinking about those matches.
Yeah, obviously no surprises there. Wolves are actually, they've been flying going into that draw against Man United. Look, you can never expect a tier 3 team to get anywhere close to a top WSL team. However, I'm sure Wolves will set up in a way to make it very difficult for United. We've saw in the past with Man United, conceding against Newcastle last year. They've had trouble in the Conti Cups in the past against Championship sides. Many people would class Wolves as a potential Championship side already with how close they've been in the past. So I wouldn't say it's going to be easy for Man United, but you kind of expect them to win. And what I would say as well is I think Albion will be having a close eye on this as well. So Albion lost 7-0 to Man United. Wolves and Albion have a lot of banter between them. So I'm sure if Wolves only lose 4 or 5-0, I think they'll take that so long as it's not more than 7-0 loss.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got kind of really much to add. I think it's fantastic for those sides to have that opportunity to get the crowds, to get the gates. We know that's important, potentially more so for rugby, just in terms of not having that Premier League club backing them. So yeah, we talk about the importance of the FA Cup for teams, and these clashes against WSL sides are fantastic and a real chance for players to test themselves, a real chance for clubs and fans to have a fantastic experience, and they'll be out to cause an upset. Absolutely, I don't think that these players are going to go into that game thinking, we just need to not concede 5 goals or something like that. They're going to go for it, and they're going to hopefully, for them at least, I think we're all United fans, so I think we're not hoping that Wolves manage to sneak something, but they'll absolutely be able to do that. There's no pressure on them players to perform at all. Everyone expects both sides to lose, which when you are the underdog, just means that you've got a blank slate to just go for it and try and get something.
No, absolutely fair enough on that one. So lots going on in the Northern Premier next week, or indeed with the 2 clubs in the Northern Premier who have got big matches. So good luck to them. Although obviously Wolves, I hope you enjoy your day out. But that's all I hope as a United fan. I can't sit there and wish ill against our girls there. But I do hope you enjoy your day. Right, let's have a little look at the Southern Premier. It's my turn. And on the Southern Premier, what's happened here? Come on, any danger? Oh, dearie me, what's going on here? All right, do you know what? Technology is great when it works. But for some reason, it's not. Oh, dear. Right, let's just stop sharing that for a second. Do you know what? It's one of those days, isn't it? I knew it was going to go wrong. But the Southern Premier has got lots going on for it. I can take you through some of the results that we have seen so far this weekend. We have got Billericay 2, Exeter City 4, which was quite a big result in itself. Cheltenham 1, Oxford United 2. In both those games, we had Sophie Giddy scoring for Exeter. That was her 19th of the season. Phoebe Poole scoring for Oxford United in the 45th minute. They scored 2 goals there, the 44th and the 45th minute, which gave them the win over Cheltenham. That was the 11th goal of the season there for Phoebe. We had hashtag United 3, AFC Wimbledon 0, which was, again, quite a big one for hashtag. It moves them to the top of the table, which you will be able to see imminently, I promise. We also had MK Dons 0, Gwalia United 2, and there's quite a conversation to be had about them in just a moment, but you should now be able to see if the world is working right. There we go, the Southern Premier, excellent. We also got Plymouth 2, Lewis 1, Big ones there. Charlotte Whitmore with her 10th goal of the season. Georgia Wilson scoring her 5th as well, and that was enough to defeat Lewis, who did have a red card on the 69th minute, which didn't affect the goals as such, but obviously would have helped to close down the game a little bit. So lots going on there with the Southern Premier, but also big things happening with Billericay. You'll notice a bit of a drop there with them having fielded an eligible player. So there's been all sorts of magic and wizardry going on around there, and points awarded back to other teams. And this has led to Billericay being right in the thick of a relegation battle as it stands. Gwalior and Cheltenham both jumping ahead of Billericay, and that's where the big matches really start to rack up for these teams. So, I mean, a busy week in the Southern Premier. There's a few games being played at the weekend, but a lot being played during the middle of the week as well on the 12th and the 13th. So big games to come up, and I suppose the big ones really would be Cheltenham against Billericay on Sunday. That's pretty big as you look down there at the moment, especially with Plymouth Argyle just on the cusp of that zone as well. Midweek, Cheltenham play again against Gwalior United. So all three of those teams in and around Plymouth Argyle have quite a bit, I think, to play for as they're playing down there, which will be quite a big thing. Plymouth are away to AFC Wimbledon, so chance for them, but it's a very, very, very tricky situation for them all. Up the top, big things going on as well. As we mentioned, hashtag doing incredibly well. They'll be playing Lewis, and Ipswich will also have to play Billericay in midweek. I suppose the big thing there is that Exeter during this week don't play at all. So Ipswich and hashtag both with the opportunities to sort of pull away or overtake Exeter just a little bit there. Now, obviously, this is the Southern Premier, so it sometimes touches into the Midlands. We could throw Gareth in there, but as far as I'm concerned, he's a Northerner now. So let's throw it back over to John. Is there anything there in the table that you wanted to add with your little Midlands touch?
I like that, the Midlands touch, yeah. So obviously Cheltenham's the one most northern, and at one point I thought they was going to be very much positively affected by the Billericay and Gwalior controversy, I guess, with the points deduction there. Yeah, so obviously that they're obviously doing well in the league. Exeter still, I can't get over how well Exeter are doing, having been newly promoted last season from Tier 4 to Tier 3, and they're still flying high up there. Obviously, it's not over yet, and you can see they're surrounded by some very tough teams. Oxford just like drifted away as well. I don't know. I just think it's very interesting, that league, in regards to some of the losses that's happened in recent weeks as well. I think when you look at the Northern Prem, in my opinion, I think there's like 4 or 5 teams there that are really pushing for the top. I think those 4 or 5 will maintain throughout the course of the season, whereas this one potentially not. But I guess we'll see. When things carry on. But yeah, interesting times. I definitely want to look out for.
I'd say so. Like I say, those results just massive. Exeter winning against Billericay, just compounding their issues. With Ipswich not playing it puts them above. But those 4 games in hand that Ipswich have got still should really see them top of the table. Oxford and Watford both jumping up a little bit. There's like a lot going on there, and a lot that could still happen. It does look as though Milton Keynes Dons will be on their way out and back down to probably Division 1 South East. But yeah, very, very, they could end up in the Midlands. That'd be interesting. Depends on where Gareth draws the lines, really. So we'll find out. Speaking of Gareth, let's move to the next division, shall we? And hopefully, hurrah, it works today. Good. So Division 1 North. Again, I know one of your favourite leagues to look at, Gareth. Plenty happening in Division 1 North. A few ups, a few downs. Why don't you take us through?
Yeah, so definitely some ups and downs here. Kind of run through some of the results to start with. AFC Fylde were actually 1-0 up at half time against York City, which would have been a massive result, would have lifted them off the bottom of the table, out of the relegation zone, but couldn't hold on until full time, where York ran out 3 One winners and actually lifted themselves out of the bottom two, which dumped Norton and Stockton in there. Norton and Stockton drawing 1-1 with Doncaster Rovers Bells, so an opportunity for both of those sides to drag themselves clear. Neither side's being able to take that, despite the fact that Bianca Owens scoring another goal for Norton Stockton, who has been bagging them in all season. We also saw important games towards the top end of the table. Middlesbrough beating Chorley by 2-1 to jump ahead of them, and actually kind of jump right the way up from, I believe, fifth last time we saw them. They were right down there with games in hand. They've sort of played them out. The league's sort of starting to settle down a little bit, but Middlesbrough right back up to second. You would think then that with some of that pressure on Cheadle, how would they respond? They had a massive game against Leeds United, which they were able to win also by 2-1 to maintain their spot at the top of the table. That pressure is on Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough know what they need to do. The league is still in their hands. If they win both of those games in hand, they will go to the top, clear by 2 points. But I've said it multiple times on this show. I personally would rather have points on the board. I don't know, maybe in the Southern Premier Division, Ipswich have enough games in hand that they'll be happy to take those. But where there's a couple and one bad result can, stop that. Middlesbrough need to win both of them to move ahead, because the goal difference isn't as strong as Cheadle. So they do need 6 points to guarantee they go top spot. One particularly strong win could shift some things. And the other result from the league, Stockport County beat Barnsley, so that's a big one. That kind of dragged Stockport 3 points clear of that bottom two. And Durham Sestria beat Huddersfield Town as well in the mid-table. So only really that Durham Huddersfield result had not a lack of meaning. It still means a lot to those, but didn't cause a huge shuffle in the table. Stockport winning to drag themselves clear, York winning to drag themselves clear, Doncaster and Norton being unable to do so. Cheadle and Middlesbrough kind of matching each other's results. Chorley and Leeds both sort of taking a little setback in terms of their title runs, but you are right. This is a league that I love as a neutral. Them top four are in a title race. You imagine potentially Leeds starting to slip back. They've got that game in hand, but if they win that, there's still a 4-point deficit, and 3 other teams looking for that top spot as well. So, but it's still wide open at the top, and it's definitely wide open at the bottom. Stockport, Barnsley, York, Doncaster, Norton, all one result away from being in that drop zone. So, Fylde are closing that gap as well. They're one positive result away from moving themselves out of the drop zone. So, I said I don't know who's going to win or get relegated from the Northern Premier, but this one is really anybody's call. I again look forward to revisiting this in a few weeks. In terms of what's coming up with this league, upcoming fixtures, Cheadle don't actually play this weekend, but there are some big games down towards the bottom end of the table. Barnsley are playing Doncaster, so those two will be looking to kind of move themselves a bit clear. Durham Sestria playing York. York get that big win. Durham will be looking to really solidify themselves in the middle of that table. But York, who knows what happens with some confidence and some momentum. Norton and Stockton against Huddersfield. Huddersfield will look to bounce back and try and maybe drag themselves up there with Leeds to stay around the conversation of a league title. And Stockport play Middlesbrough in what is likely to be a really tricky game for them. But again, you never know what things can happen. Stockport got a win at the weekend, confidence high. Who knows if they can carry that over into face Middlesbrough on Sunday. So lots of things going on, lots of things to keep track of. And yeah, what an interesting league this is to follow as a neutral.
No, absolutely. And a very comprehensive report there as well. So well done, you. I think really, from my point of view, little things that I'd spotted there, the Durham game, massive there because Lucy Noble scored that coming off the bench as well in the 85th minute. So, I mean, you talk about game changers. She absolutely did that in the game there for Durham Sestria. But, and you mentioned as well Bianca Owens, what a season she's having. I mean, this is the sort of thing that blows my mind, right? Because she's on her 17th goal. She's the top scorer in the league, yet they're 11th. I love football. I love it. This is why it can happen. The top scorer in the league could potentially be ended up in Tier 5 next season. It's absolute madness, this league, with what they're doing. And I think that the match I highlighted for next week was the Barnsley against Donny Rovers Bells one at the weekend, because I just feel like that one's, well, I mean, it's relegation 6-pointer written all over it, that one, hasn't it? So all good fun for us. But what an unbelievable league that is turning out to be. Speaking of unbelievable leagues, John, I found this one a little bit difficult. I've got to be honest, because the last time we spoke, there was only one up, one down, and all of them were level. That was a bit lower down in the league, and it's exactly the same here. Now, to be fair, it is a top of the table change, but it just, I think, really on this one, kind of underlines the fact that this league is definitely starting to take shape now, and we might be starting to see who the movers and shakers are going to be in this league for the ones that are coming up and the ones that are going down. But what say you? You're much closer to it than I am.
I think you can see that. I can see why you would say that, but there are mistakes happening, and I know what you're thinking about Loughborough with the games in hand. But let me talk to you about those shortly. So, yeah, just go through a few of the results. Sutton Coldfield won 3-0 against Lincoln United. So that's 12 points out of 15 now for Sutton Coldfield. Is that any coincidence that their new manager, who came in roughly 5 games ago, has he turned it around for Sutton, and potentially so? So good result for Sutton there. They're obviously stretching away from that relegation battle at the bottom and firmly into mid-table now. Lincoln United also, I believe, would be safe, 13 points. Surely just one more win for them for the remainder of the season would concrete that and really make that certain. Peterborough 3, Notts County 0, which obviously put Peterborough on top of the league. Now, I know Gareth has said in the past, and I agree with him, it's best to have points on the board. However, when you play 3 or 4 more games than the rest and only 1, 2 or 3 more points ahead, it's not enough, is it? So, so I agree. I think Peterborough are pushing. They're doing everything that they can do, but they are relying on other teams around them to also slip up now. Lincoln City 0, Leafield 6. Leafield aren't a team that's slipping up. They're still in and around it. I appreciate they've played 15 games and on 36 points. Northampton have got that game in hand, but there's still so many twists and turns. But Leafield scoring 6 goals there away from home. It's good. It just adds that confidence, especially with one of their new signings, Janelle Straker scoring a brace, Gallup scoring a brace, Ella Bryan with 1, and Abby Kerry with 1 as well. So Leafield still pushing themselves. And then the upset. So I think when there's so much competition in the league and there's 6 games every week, there's always one upset, or there can always be one upset. And Barnsley winning against Northampton. Now, that's no disrespect to Barnsley, because I know they're quietly doing things behind the scenes. But when Northampton haven't lost the league game since the opening game of the season, and then they lose to a mid-table team, I think that's that's massive credit to Barnsley. So Northampton lost there and really blew things wide open, and it is a massive shock. Solihull Moors only losing 2-0 against Loughborough. So there's a great chance to speak a little bit about Loughborough. Their next 2 games, which is going to be on the weekend and midweek, Northampton away, and then Peterborough at home. So I think, if you're an opponent to those who wants to stay in the title race, you need to win that one. And Loughborough obviously need to win it to remain favourites. So lots to come up there on Loughborough's behalf. And then lastly, Bournemouth 2, Worcester 1. Worcester's goal scorer was former Bournemouth player, Evie Billingsley. So she managed to score against her old club. And unfortunately, Bournemouth just need to go on to FA full time a little bit more and put the starting 11 up. They need to tweet their starting 11 so we can get a little bit more information. It's a little bit more easy than me than to ask around the people that I know who went to the game. But yeah, a good result for Bournemouth, who are also going very strong. So, in regards to your first question regarding up and down, is it as simple? Towards the bottom, potentially. However, I would say Worcester are against Solihull Moors next Wednesday. So if Solihull Moors win that game against Worcester, then it may not be that simple. And I guess we'll see where we are at the top in about 10 days' time when Loughborough played their two biggest rivals.
Absolutely, that sounds perfectly reasonable. And again, a nice comprehensive one there. The big changes we all see is right at the top, Peterborough and Northampton. I mean, Northampton losing to Barnsley Women, like you say, is quite a result, really, especially when you consider Barnsley Women were just stuck in the middle of the table. And that's what these mid-table teams can do to you, is cause a little bit of a drama. And Peterborough smashing Notts County, unbelievable. And Evie Driscoll King with her 5th of the season. We like a milestone on these places. You mentioned some of the games, but ones that sticking out for me there, because again, the weekend games and midweek games, you've got Lincoln United there against Worcester. That's going to be huge. Like Lincoln United really could over the next week get drawn straight back into this relegation drama potentially. Yeah, you've got Northampton against Loughborough Lightning, which is huge up the top there. If Northampton just lost one, they don't want to lose another. Then Solihull Moors are going to play Lincoln City, which again is huge there at the bottom between the two of them. You've got to feel like if Solihull Moors get the win there, that's probably the end of Lincoln City. But then you've got Loughborough Lightning against Peterborough United. So huge games at the top again. And then back down the bottom in the Lincoln Derby as United play City. And then Worcester against Solihull Moors. And that's all in the next 7 days. So if you're not watching Division 1 Midlands, you're a little bit mad, because this absolutely has got, this is the blue touch paper ready to be lit, hasn't it? So absolutely superb. Make sure you are keeping an eye on what's going on there. Right, let's take a look at the southeast of England. Now, I had to go at John for his league. My league's done exactly the same. Not a lot going on in terms of changing position, only in the middle of the table. But some interesting results none the less. Chatham Town, obviously, at the top of the table. They won 2-0 against struggling London Seaward. I mean, to be fair, relegation looks almost sorted in this division, but a good win nonetheless for Chatham Town. There were Darcy Wells and Ellie Jeffkins getting the goals. Just below them, we've got Real Bedford. The interesting bit here was the draw. They had a draw against Norwich City. So you had Abby Benstead, who's Bedford's top scorer, with 16th goal, against Norwich City's top scorer with 13 goals, Natasha Snelling. They both scored, as you would expect, and stepping up for their side here. But a huge result. And there's big things going on around Real Bedford at the moment. Their ground is literally, I mean, you can stand at Real Bedford's ground, you could throw a stone, and it's in Bedford Town's ground. It's like literally, and you can see it. You can see their pitch. You can probably watch the match from where you are as well. So you can watch both matches if they were both going on at the same time. And I believe that this game was actually played at Bedford Town. There's a big thing going on at the moment about trying to merge the two sides, which would be very interesting from a man and a woman's point of view there. So lots going on around the town of Bedford. So certainly things to keep an eye on with what's going on there. But they are doing incredibly well up at the top of the league there, following their promotion from the Eastern region last season. Actonians, as you can see, they are still in third, following a win over Dulwich Hamlet, with Hannah Lalani scoring her 10th of the season. Again, she's the club's top scorer. No surprises there. London Bees go back to winning ways. They had a bit of a dodgy run since their FA Cup result, but a 3-0 win over Cambridge United was enough for them, with Millie Isherwood, their top scorer, netting again for her 13th of the season. As you can see, QPR did move up ever so slightly. Sudbury, staying the same as well, with a 1-0 win over Ashford Town, with a 90th minute winner with Alex Penny there. So big for them. QPR drew 0-0 with Cheshire United, which was probably a little bit of a shock, but it was enough to move them ahead of Cambridge United following their defeat. So that is where the league sits. Cheshire United obviously very happy with a draw because it takes them that little bit further away from the relegation zone. So huge things going on there. For me, the biggest match looking ahead to the weekend is Norwich against Chatham. They've just had a point at Royal Bedford. If they can manage a draw with Chatham Town as well, it could, or even a win, it could blow it wide open once again. But you really are looking at any one of those 4 teams. If Norwich don't beat Chatham, you're probably going to think that's the end of their title challenge. But as they're nearing the end, it is getting very close now. That'll be game 15. That'll be 7 games left to go. Absolutely massive stuff going on in the Division 1 South East. So keep your eyes on that, and we will see who will be joining the Southern Premier, which you will notice has neither East nor West in it, Gareth. But don't let that be me pointing out a fact. So there we go. Right, one last league to look at, and we were hoping that Stu would be with us to be able to give us a little video package on this one, but unfortunately his computer has suffered an injury of sorts, so he's not been able to get that across to us. So instead, we'll just run through what you can see here, and it's a shame actually because there's quite a lot going on there. As you can see, Moneyfields have made it to the top of the table with a 3-0 win over Southampton Women, bottom of the table. So you would imagine that would be the case. Their top scorer, and indeed the league top scorer, Shannon Albury, scored in the 27th minute for the second goal. And that has done it for Moneyfields. AFC Bournemouth also with a 3-0 victory. Keeps them a point behind. Swindon have not had the greatest of times. They lost 2-0 to Bristol Rovers, perhaps a bit unexpected. Maya Rees there and Megan Jarvis with her 19th of the season. So lots of goals in the Division 1 Southwest. Worthing have jumped up a tiny little bit with a draw against Bridgewater. And Bristol Rovers, obviously, with that win over Swindon Town, moving up as well. Keynsham Town, obviously, with that loss to AFC Bournemouth, dropping down. Bridgewater staying where they are. Maidenhead United drew 0-0 with Portishead, which is probably a better result for Portishead than it is for Maidenhead in what we can call the head derby, I think, on that one. And Bournemouth Sports, get this, massive one for them, 3-2 win over Abingdon United, leapfrogging the side and coming out of the relegation zone. Massive game there. Absolutely huge. Katie Kingshot scoring for Bournemouth Sports after 5 minutes. Abingdon United take the lead, equalise and take the lead through Molly Geyer and Poppy Wennell. But the second half was all about Bournemouth Sports. Holly Shaw in the 50th minute, Jasmine Hughes in the 87th minute. And before you know it, Bournemouth Sports are up and out of the relegation zone, leaving Portishead Town and Southampton Women at the bottom. Any observations on this one, lads? Anything you'd like to point out about the Division 1 Southwest?
I think for me, it's just what a season Bournemouth are having at the moment. Mad goal difference. 11 wins from 11. I think this is the exception to my I'd rather have points on the board rule. I imagine that in those 3 games, Bournemouth will win one of them at least to kind of move them back to the top. And that's a tasty looking relegation battle. I mean, Southampton Women look done. That looks like it's a mountain to climb. If they do that, then get themselves to Kenya to have a little trek up Kilimanjaro, take that momentum with them. But the rest of that relegation battle is interesting. Portishead, Abingdon, and Bournemouth Sports all fighting it out, scrapping it out to stay up out of those 3.
Yeah, and also just a shout out for Bournemouth regarding making the play final as well. I'm guessing that might have been one of the reasons why they've got games in hand as well. So just jumping on the back of what Gareth says, a fantastic season for Bournemouth. But Bristol do have games in hand, not enough to catch Bournemouth, but maybe to make a bit of a push towards the end, maybe take over Moneyfields in the top 2 potentially.
No, absolutely, and you're right to shout them out. And again, from that result, Kenny Thompson scoring 2, and Eloise Hall coming off the bench for the 3rd one in that game against Keynsham. So, looking ahead, big games coming up. Bournemouth have got Bridgewater in their next game, as you can see. So that's you would think maybe that would be the one where Bournemouth can get a win, but Maidenhead will be at home to Moneyfield. So Bridgewater and Maidenhead there, 7th and 8th, having a big say in who will be top of the table come next week. Southampton women, looking at the bottom there, they have got Bristol Rovers, which again doesn't seem like the easiest of games for them, while Bristol Rovers try and fight for the top 5, and Worthing will be facing Portishead. So those teams that are in 4th and 5th are hoping to try and get themselves into the relegation battle, into the promotion battle, at the expense of AFC Bournemouth. If they don't manage to take advantage of their games in hand, will also be fighting against 2 teams that are absolutely scrapping for their lives. So huge things happening all the way across the WNL. It's looking really exciting, and we get into the business end of the season. Lads, anything I've missed? Anything you think we need to throw up before we go off and, to be honest, put me eating on or a jumper, because I am proper chilly right now?
I'm going to shout out one team, West Bromwich Albion. They've got 2 Black Country Guard derbies coming up, so I could have mentioned it when we was talking about Tier 3 in the North earlier. But obviously they've just lost to Hull, and they've got to play Calcer on Sunday and Stourbridge on Wednesday. So that's 2 Black Country derbies in the space of 3 or 4 days on the back of a defeat against 2 teams that really need a point at least. So one to look out for in the next week or so.
Who are you backing in them games, John? Are you going to pick a side, or is there a nice comfy fence to sit on?
Calcer's done really well all season, haven't they? Against the big teams, they're still managing to score and keep the numbers that they're conceding down. Hence why their goal average is so good compared to other teams around them at the bottom. Stourbridge will take confidence from the Liverpool Feds game. I just cast my mind back last time that Stourbridge played Albion at home, they won 7-2. A lot's happened since then, but I'm sure that'll be on people's minds around the stadium. Look, you have to fancy Albion as a favourite if I have to say it one way or the other. But if anything can bring a bit of emotion to a game, it's a Black Country derby. So who knows? Who knows?
Absolutely that. Well, as we mentioned, FA Cup this weekend. Gaz, would you say that rugby, my geography is not working as well, would that be North, or would that be Midlands, or are you going to be pedantic and start saying North East and all that jazz?
Rugby is the Midlands, isn't it?
So, John, we give you the FA Cup award. It's your area, the Midlands, that has had the lower league, both of them, Wolves and Rugby, making it to the furthest round in the FA Cup. So congratulations, sir. There's nothing, don't win anything. Just bragging rights more than anything else. Midlands football is on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, until 2 northern sides not come out, but
Well, yes, but I don't think we can take the WSL, Man United, and Liverpool in the lower league lingo, sadly, in that one. So really big, but good stuff. We will be back next week. Really looking forward to it. I should imagine we'll probably look again at Tier 5 and 6. We shall see. We'll get together, have a little chat as to whereabouts we want to go with it. But whatever happens, we will be covering the Wolves and Rugby match and letting you know what's gone on. And who knows, maybe Manchester United would have made it through, and maybe Rugby would have completed a famous win over Liverpool. And I can't think of a reason why I would say that. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all. Cheers for joining us. Thank you, John. Thank you, Gareth. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday live.